pledge allegiance at this time, please.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Shea. Here. Dr. Bridges. Here. Mr. Jester.
Here.
Ms. Clodfelter. Here. Ms. John. Colonel Kirk.
Here. We have no special recognitions or architect reports, so we'll go down to item 6 for the departmental report.
Under the departmental report, we have a update on Phase 2 Office of Educational Quality and Accountability School Performance Review. This is Chapter 2, Maintenance and Custodial Operations, and for that we'll have Mr. Kyle Smith and Mr. Kent Lidford join us.
Thank you so much for having us. We have learned a whole lot from the school performance review. It's making us think in a whole different way than what we thought about before we got with them. So that's been a big help. We wanted to tell y'all we really appreciate everything that y'all do for us because that's really helping. So we wanted to go over Chapter 2, and number 14 was revise the LPS policy to require written annual evaluations before June 30th. And basically that's already kind of being done by the middle of June. So number 15, revise LPS policy and all related policies with a view towards increasing the purchase amount required for 3 competitive bids. That has already been board approved, and that is really helping tremendously. So that was approved on the 23rd. 16, implement a new policy on minimal expenditures for preventative maintenance, a new policy on maximum permissible deferred maintenance for review and approval by the school board. Right now, we're a little undecided on it, but it's something that we're all working on to decide what's going to be the best for the district on that. Number 17, hire 37 additional full-time maintenance technicians. We are working with Human Resources and Dr. Deegan and looking at that. Right now, I'm going to put a question mark on it because of funding. But we need to know really on that number the expectations of the board and then Dr. Deegan before we continue with that.
Do you want me to wait for questions, or can I ask?
You can ask anytime you want to.
Okay, with this right here, my curiosity is how many full-time maintenance technicians do we have now?
33.
Okay, and is there a reason why their magical number is 37? Is it based on people?
Square footage.
Square footage,
of
okay.
The buildings that we take care of, yes.
So we're only 4 off the mark of what their recommendation is?
No, basically,
Half, yeah.
we're half of
Half,
what they recommend.
okay.
They're recommending
Yes.
37 additional.
Oh, additional, okay. Okay, not 237, I got you.
Double the department.
But we understand with the budget the way it is, that we really don't know if we'll ever get to that point. So, like I said, we're working on that with HR, and we're going to try to come up with a good number that we can work with.
Can you answer me this, other districts our size, how many, I mean, are they short as well as far as per square footage for maintenance people, do we know?
Right now, I could not answer
Okay.
that for you, but I can find out.
It's always nice to know, I mean, not just for comparison purposes of what's done or being done, you know, so.
And I think you're probably exactly right. I think we're probably going to look at the larger districts in the state, and they're having the same problems we are.
We're in the process of hiring 3 journeymen, so where is that process at right now?
We are almost ready to bring that back to the board. We're going to try to bring it back to the board, the next board meeting. We're trying to get some more information put together, the total number of what we spent on subcontractors, et cetera, et cetera. So we're hoping we bring that back to the board on the next meeting.
Mr. Leffer, I have a question. I missed our meeting the other day. I was sick, so I apologize. When I talked to the school performance review people about how they figured the 37 additional people on the square footage, I never got a clear picture of what they counted square footage compared to what we're counting. And also, so have they given you any indication about the differences in how they counted their square footage as opposed to how we do?
No.
Okay, because they wanted to double our department, but I have not been able to clear from them that. And also, I have a question. Have you seen any big discrepancy? Like, for example, the number of work orders done in the different areas. Most of them, like, for example, 1,204, are, most of them are closed. We don't have a lot of work orders done at the end of the year. And so I'm trying to figure out the difference between their numbers, because doubling the department, and the number of work orders, the number of square footage. Something here doesn't seem to make sense, and we've talked about it a little bit.
Correct.
37 seems like a really, really, really high number.
Yes.
To double the department. And so I'm wondering how they put their numbers together. I've asked them, you did a good job of getting me the square footage that we have for the district.
Correct.
And so just still trying to be clear, and I didn't know if you'd gotten any more information.
No, I have not. But I mean, if that's something we need to check into, I can get with them and.
I got an answer for a little bit of that. If they go by the Association of Physical Plant Administrators standard for maintenance personnel, for one full-time employee, it's 45,000 square feet. And we roughly had 2.93 million square feet of space in the district, and so that's kind of how they came up with that number.
Is that gauged just on buildings that need maintenance overall, or schools, or?
Here's what they said. They took the APPA staffing formula. They also take into consideration the age of the school buildings in the district as they viewed them. They also took into account what specific issues, like we're in Lawton. If you've lived in Lawton any amount of time, you know we have foundation issues, those type of things that can affect water, pipes, those type of things in the district. And so they took that into account. In fact, there were several people who came in, 3 exactly, that went through the maintenance department. One of them in Houston, Texas, Springs, Texas, he was actually an architect that was in charge of the operations department in Springs, Texas. Springs, Texas has over 100,000 kids in the district. And so he was very knowledgeable and had done this before, and I'm sure he had a lot of input in that. But basically, that's what they go by and what they recorded in the actual report.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
And my question will get, I understand where they get the standard. I'm just wondering, their numbers
They
were 37.
They were pretty close. I mean, they counted all our buildings from maintenance, transportation, warehouse, schools that were closed that were still part of our district that we hadn't sold, and getting their numbers. Actual numbers of kids that we have occupying buildings, of course, is going to be less than 2.9 million square feet for our district. But that's basically the way that they figured how many square feet total we have throughout the district that's owned by the school district, and then I think.
Did they offer any insight to describe, we've got this apparent, we need to double our staff, but yet our work orders are getting done. I know Mr. Ledford's staff works really hard, but I don't know if they can make up for double the staff. I'm wondering if they're counting, when I see that discrepancy, they say we need to double our staff, but our work orders are getting done in a pretty timely manner. I'm wondering where the discrepancy is or what they're counting. Maybe they're considering custodial staff as part of the maintenance. Those are things in the report I haven't been clear. Make sure we're counting apples to apples. Is what I'm trying to do.
And we talked to them about specifics on, if we're going to go with hiring 37 new people, that seems very large amount.
Yeah.
Beyond what we think we would need in this district to keep going. Mr. Ledford's staff definitely keeps up with the work orders. We do have to contract some of our work out, especially heating and everything. It's this time of year. Of course, we're short a couple of journeymen and that kind of thing, but they work extra hard to make sure that we do get our work orders done. And there is some, like Dr. Deegan said, some concerns about how they actually got their numbers. And, you know, a standard across, you know, the United States, does that fit Lawton necessarily? Sometimes it doesn't necessarily fit us to a T.
Thank you.
I really feel like we're treading water, but we're not getting any closer to the shore. We're doing a lot of the emergency work orders that you have to do every day. But our facilities need a lot of improvement.
And preventive maintenance. So
Right.
Preventative maintenance, we do not have the personnel.
So do you have a number that you think would be able to complete that?
Not right now. And like I said, we discussed this with HR, and we've gone through all this, and we're trying to come up with a really good number that everyone can work with.
Yeah, 'cause my concern is right now, are we worried about our foundations on our buildings? Because we are now in the middle of the heat, where we're going to start seeing the soil and stuff pull away from the buildings.
This year, there's still ground moisture.
Okay.
That's going to help them tremendously. So this year hadn't been as bad as it had 2 years ago, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago.
So we are keeping a watch on that, though, because we've seen what's happened.
Yes.
Some of our buildings we haven't watched.
As a matter of fact, I just got the measurements today from Isaiah Middle School, or this week, from Mr. McCaig. So they're measuring them as they're,
Okay.
as
And we're
directed.
watching good.
Yep.
Monitoring that monthly, just to keep a record of all that. So, any more questions on that? Okay. 18, this is basically the work order system. And the work order system we have right now is not exactly what's best for maintenance. And there is some better work order systems out there that help you keep track of like all your preventative maintenance issues, keep track of what you spent on what building. There's a lot of things that will go along with a new work order system, and Dr. Deegan has given us the okay to go ahead and start looking into that, investigating that, and come up with a good work order system for that. 19, implement a training program in the maintenance department. That is already being done basically twice a year. We do some GCN training, bloodborne pathogens, general safety, slips and falls, stuff like that. And then VOTEC, we had a course on CPR, lockout, tag out, et cetera, on that kind of training. Number 20, inspect all facilities, documented maintenance requirements, prioritize the list, and begin correcting deficiencies. We are going to do that in January so that we can plan for the summer. That gives us plenty of time from January till summer, and we can plan ahead and get what we need repaired done during that next summer. Because a lot of it is hard to do during school hours. So, 21, reassign supervision responsibilities for the plumbing group to a separate plumbing supervisor. What we have in that department, we have one person that has a mechanical license and a plumbing license. So when we hired him as a contractor, he assumed both of those responsibilities. And what we were thinking at the time was that was going to help us save $45,000 to $50,000 by letting him be over both of those shops with his license. So that's kind of a undecided deal right now, and we just don't know whether we want to go ahead and spend the $45,000 to $50,000 to hire another contractor to take over that other department. 22, terminate the lease for the maintenance warehouse and store maintenance, gardening, and adaptive equipment in district-owned facilities. We agree with that, but we do not have a facility right now that we can store all of our stuff in. Well, in the warehouse we're using now, we pull all our trucks inside it with all our mowers, everything, and then we use it for storage for everything that came out of the closed buildings. Now, we could store some of that in some of our closed buildings, but they're not set up for vehicle traffic in and out of them.
But don't we pay quite a lot for that? That we can't make some arrangements for buildings that we already have? Because we're paying quite a bit on that lease each month.
About $25,000 a year. And we
$2,000
looked-
a month.
The hurdle, we've talked about this for the last 2 years in a row, looking at that. The hurdle we run into so far is all the surplus equipment. I think there's room at maintenance for just the mowing equipment. We've got that one room that had all the HVAC equipment. But with last year, with us closing all those buildings and actually the Herculean effort that maintenance did to make all that work, we kind of filled that room up again. So we're starting from square one again, so it's something we have to get that building empty at the moment, from all the surplus and all the stuff from the buildings closed. But I do think if it's just the equipment that's needed for grounds, we can find a place for that. So we've got to figure out two problems there, and so I think that's something we'll look at this year.
Dr. Dean, if I could just point out for the board's information, the amount of that lease has remained constant ever since it first, we first entered into it. The owner of the building has not attempted to increase the rent for, we had that building probably, 10 years, something like that.
John, do you remember how much? I think you're probably right, it's probably been,
Yeah, okay, but.
Well, I mean, I
but-
appreciate
but
that.
For us not to have to incur any rent increases over that period of time, that's certainly a consideration, I would say, as far as the cost effectiveness of the amount we pay for the amount of space we have to use.
I mean, I do agree with that. I mean, and I'm very appreciative to the owner for what he has done for us, but still $25,000 is $25,000.
yes, I agree. But until we come up with a different solution,
Then we're just maintaining, that's fine. I understand.
okay, 23, purchase stripping machines that remove the old wax without chemicals. We put rejected on that, but I'd like for you to put a question mark on that. Because we have talked to a company about buying some machines. They're basically about twice as high as our normal scrubbing machines that we normally buy that we use chemicals with. So there's going to be some additional funds that go along with that, but we need to get all that figured out before we determine what's going to be the best way to go with the stripping machines. Change the district for custodial staffing to 23,000 square feet for custodian and realign the staffing to comply with the new standards and hire one additional custodian, full-time employee. This right now is being addressed with HR, and a lot of the problems we have is our older facilities take more work to keep them up. We normally work off about a 19,000 square foot per custodian, and we feel like in the buildings we have right now, they're stretched pretty thin. 25, implement a training program in the custodial department. That is already going on basically twice a year. In fact, we had one this week with all the custodians, and we had a factory rep come in and help us with some training. So we're already doing that program right now. 26, basically almost 26 through 32 has to do with the appointing one individual as the district safety program manager. And that has already been board approved. We've got that new person on staff. So I can go through all these with you if you want, but basically 26 through 32 deals with that district safety program manager. So if you see anything on there that we need to discuss, we can, or
31 and 32.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that kind of changes with the bleach.
31, prohibit custodians and other staff from bringing personal tools to work and prohibit untrained personnel from working on district equipment. That was addressed at the meeting this week about if they're going to be working with power tools, they need to have the training before they do that. So we don't want somebody to get hurt at work. 32, replace bleach with an alternative disinfectant. We had already started this, getting our bleach off our inventory before they even arrived to do this. So they just went ahead and put that in there, but we're down to about 60 gallons of bleach that we're normally not going to have in the warehouse. So once we deplete that, we're not going to order any more bleach. So, any more questions?
I have one question, Mr. Everett. On 19, the training, you mentioned the training, the bloodborne pathogen safety committee, CPR. Now, those are trainings we already have implemented. Have you done anything that's new since this recommendation?
Correct. The only thing was the BOTAG,
So the
the
VOTEC training.
CPR, and the lockout tagout.
Okay. That's good.
So apparently their training that they recommended had to do with safety as opposed to the actual work.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And bringing personal tools that might not have the correct guard on it,
Right.
anything like that. So it was a big safety issue. It was. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now on to your report.
With the permission of the board, I would like to, on the report of the superintendent, go ahead and jump to E, since we have visitors from LATS. If we could cover item E first, if it doesn't.
It's fine. Sure.
If the board president, okay, I'll ask Ryan and, everybody can come on up if you want. Come on. Just kind of give you a preface of what happened. Ryan and his team, Ryan's with LATS, the Lawton Area Transportation System. They approached us with some ideas. We had a couple meetings with them actually over the summer about ideas to help alleviate some of the bus needs, the possibility of partnering on some things. We're still working on those things, but what we're here to discuss tonight is we believe there's a path. And again, we thought tonight would be, this is just a discussion, just a conversation. A path. We ran into a situation last fall, or last spring, I think we had a student who was no longer allowed to ride the bus because that student didn't actually live in the transportation zone. When we started talking, what do we do with those students that live 1.4 miles instead of 1.5 miles? They've come up with a solution, and we think, and again, we're not prepared to give any hard details, but basically the idea is that LATS buses be available to all of our students, grades 6 through 12, year-round. And so we're trying to figure out how to make that happen. So we have a student, we have a lot of situations where students live 1.3 miles and they'll go ahead and walk the 3 blocks to get on the bus. But that's choking out our bus system, so we have too many students riding. Transportation is going to actually have an ID card system for students who are allowed to ride the bus this year, so we know who's able to be on there. This will actually make it available to students who aren't eligible to ride our buses, but they can ride LATS buses.
So what are we gonna do if a child shows up at the bus?
We're going to transport them. We're not going to leave the kids standing there. But the other issue is those students who've not been able to participate in extracurricular activities, stay after school for extra tutoring, with LATS buses being available, that's going to expand a lot of opportunities for our district. And so I invited them here to the board meeting. We're working on a proposal for the board, but that's kind of the discussion we've had. The idea is a student with an LPS ID gets on a LATS bus, and that's their payment. I think that's a great opportunity if we can figure out a way to make it happen.
What about liability issues?
That's all in LATS.
Appreciate that.
We'll get that in a minute, okay?
Would that be your regular routes, or would you be adding additional, or?
Right now, basically what would happen is that we have 10 routes that run Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. and on Saturday from 9 to 9. We would not alter our routes in any type of way. Basically, we're a flag stop system, which means that any person, any student that is in between the bus stops can flag down a bus, and as long as it's safe to do so, we would pick them up. And so, this service, it just makes complete sense. We wouldn't have to alter anything that we're doing, and it's very, very simple to use. Like Tom said, we're in preliminary discussions right now, and we're trying to work out all the details, but I think this would be excellent on all parties involved.
So they would have the same type of deal that would be like an ID, how you would determine that they are a Lawton Public School student?
Well, basically, it would just be a student ID that they
Right,
would
the
just
same
show.
one.
They already have one.
That's what I'm saying, they would show their student ID, just like we do.
The same ID we give them at the beginning of school, we get them on the Latch bus as well.
And now, would that be open to them on the weekends if they wanted to go other places?
Absolutely.
That was my question.
And also during the summers, and, I mean, whenever a last bus service is actually operating, they can get on. And so, like Tom said, extracurricular activities, it helps parents out tremendously. Tanisha's one that can point. So that, like I said, it just kind of makes sense. And we're glad to.
The bus stops right in front of my house every day if I get children old enough to go to school.
What would a formula for cost? I mean, I guess how much?
We're working that out. I hate to say anything prematurely until everybody starts, comparing apples to apples. I'm sure they're, in the end, they're probably going to give it to us for free, so. It will cost us, but we're trying to compare the cost with the benefit. If, we're having a shortage of drivers, any students we can get on a LATS bus, that helps meet their needs better. It's going to alleviate pressure on our system, so it will cost us something. It won't be free it'll be free to the students, but it won't be free to the districts, so. But I think we're coming up with it.
On every issue, every scenario. We want to play devil's advocate on that.
Right.
Now, from what I understand, there's other communities that are doing this as well?
Oh, absolutely. There's actually one particular city that's doing this is Waco. Right now, the city of Lawton, the transit system right now is being managed by McDonald Transit, and so that's who I work for. So we have another property in Waco, Texas that does the exact same thing. So we're going to kind of try to mirror that type of thing and, to what we would like to do here.
Awesome.
Now, the only thing is that and you can communicate this the best you can, but, I'm just going to stretch it out there. When you have elementary students, they're going to say ID badge, and that's all they hear. And I know, we're going to communicate 6th grade to high school, then you're going to get that 4th or 5th grader that thinks that, well, my brother gets to go, and how come I don't? These are things we need to face.
Oh, absolutely. And I think,
how does the bus driver handle that, you know what I mean?
Well, it would be no different. I mean, as long as we would have to work out those details right now, but right now, we're kind of starting with 6th grade.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want a small child, you wouldn't want that either. I mean, you don't want more than a parent, a 2nd or 3rd grader on there, but you have siblings, all these other things you have to work out, these logistics. I love the program. I'm not trying to be negative. I think it's wonderful. Yes, I got you.
Well, thank you for bringing that to us, and I think that's something that we definitely want to pursue.
Thank you.
And you are free to leave. Thank you for going out of order, Mr. President.
Back to item A.
At item A, we have consideration and action regarding the proposed revisions to policy EBA. And again, this just changes the school year from 2015-16 to 2016-17.
Move for approval?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges? Yes. Mr. Sherm?
Yes.
Item B, consideration and action regarding the proposed revisions to policy EC, and this affects the school day as well. This one,
This is the schedule we're already going by, correct?
yes. The main purpose is to change the year, 16 to 17, but also we had some language up there due with kindergarten day, et cetera, that we're updating.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Item C is consideration and action regarding the proposed revisionist policy EIA-R1, secondary grading codes. And the only change has to do with just for 1 year, 2016-17 school year elective classes for middle schools.
Where did we change that?
Right. Just for the middle school.
Page 6,
Oh,
the underlined part in the middle, that's the
I see it
only
now.
change to the policy.
Oh, okay.
Had to do with our new grading computer software.
Okay.
Move for approval?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Item B is consideration and action regarding proposed bus routes for LPS employees, and this is a proposal that would allow us to pay staff extra duties for driving a bus, for example, in the morning and afternoon. We wouldn't expect, 100 people to do it, but if every 2 people that we do it, we've just loosened up a little bit of a bus route. Every person that does it helps alleviate a little pressure. And we're in a driver shortage, so any help we can get, we think would be helpful. So I do
That's
recommend
great.
we adopt it.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Item E, we covered already. Item F, and for this, I'll ask Ms. Diane Brinstetter, and she'll cover item F, G, and H, and come up and give an end-of-the-year financial report, as well as overview of the bond and the sales tax.
Quick question, we didn't have to vote on E at all?
It was just information items.
Information, okay.
We wanted to get feedback and thoughts from the board before as we move forward. So we'll have a proposal as soon as we can for you to consider.
Evening. Okay, we're going to start on page 12, and I'm going to just give an overview of the district in general, and then we'll kind of go through some of the different funds as we move forward. Basically, there are 13 different funds. There were 14 now, 13 different funds. At the end of last school year, on June 30th of 2015, the school district had $23,911,600.27. During the school year last year, the district brought in $135,172,610.30, and we expended $132,847,814.99. So that left the school district with $26,436,395.58. Generally speaking, in most of those funds, the different funds, they belong for different things. Our bonds, our city sales tax, we have to pay back in the sinking fund all our bond, our debt, we have to pay back our debt. So each one of them has a different meaning behind them. The general fund obviously is our biggest one. When we closed at the end of this year, there was $12,498,342.25. There's a difference of $4 million from where we were a year ago. The largest reason that you're going to have that much of a difference from one year to the next is, you remember we closed the schools, and that made the huge difference in our salary portion of it, because when we bring the budget back to you in September, you'll recall that our salaries are nearly, not quite, but nearly 90% of the budget. And now that that has shrunk a little bit, that has helped us to be able to build the carryover in the last few years. And you'll see that on another page. The co-op is our alternative ed grant, and it comes in, we spend it. Our building fund is obviously to maintain our buildings, and we'll go over that a little bit more in detail. And the city sales tax and the bonds I'll go over a little bit more. The endowment funds are just scholarships. Your activity funds holds all the student activity funds. You can see that they brought in $3 million and spent $3 million. Quite a bit of money going through our activity funds to support our students. Okay, at the bottom of it, it talks a little bit about the district in general. We have on the books what we call our inventories. We have money in the basement, our gasoline on hand, our food on hand, those sorts of things. So if you take that into consideration at the very bottom of it, our fund balance is where that $12,498,000 came from. The district itself had $14 million. The federal grants, obviously we have to claim for their money. We spend their money, then we have to claim to get it back. So we're behind $1.5 million of theirs. As of today, I think we only had maybe 2 of those claims that are outstanding. So we got them in, got them out pretty quickly. I was very pleased with that. So in the end, if you'll follow the district-wide line at the very bottom, it says that the general fund for the district portion of it was $13,795,495.89. And if you'll flip over to the next page, then we'll talk a little bit more about that. That is our fund balance on June 30th for the general fund itself. Now, we rolled over $1.4 million worth of purchase orders. Those are, generally speaking, the expenditures that take place in about the last 45 to 60 days of the school year. We can't get in and out and get paid by June 30th. So we do what we call roll them over. So we have to account for them. Yes, we have that much money, but we still owe those right then. So we are going to take that away from that, and that brings us back to that $12,378,348.46. From there is where the fund begins. Where do we go from here? How are we going? We've got from now until the 1st of September to set the budget. So these are some of the things that we have found out in the last 22 days of July. Our state aid, we got our state aid allocation last week, and it came in $237,435 less than it was when we closed last year. You know, that actually sounds pretty impressive until you take into consideration the next line, which is the textbooks. What the state did, if you go out on the state website and you look at our state allocation, it says that we are only short $237,000. What the state really did was the allocation that we normally got for our textbooks, the $750,000, they took that away from us and funded state aid with it. So really, we were cut about $1 million. But the way they shifted their money makes it appear as though we only were cut $237,000. But our line item, and when we come back in September, you see our line item where the textbooks would have been, they're zero. So in essence, we were cut $1 million. Now, if you recall, we had, right off the bat last year, we figured out that motor vehicle changed the way they were funding. And we were short last year, so that will have to be accounted for this year. And then once we account for it, then as we move forward years from now, we'll be stable again. That was something that was different than what it was last year when we started. We caught it early, and we were aware of it the whole year, but it is going to affect our revenue again this year. They also cut all staff development money to the districts, and they cut the alternative education program by another $60,000 this year. That's all we know so far. There could be other cuts in the next 30 days. We don't know that. But that's what we know so far. Now, on the expenditure side, so on the revenue side, we're already down $1.9 million in the first 22 days of July. So then we move to the expenditure side, and obviously we give a raise every year, so that's going to cost us $1.2 million. That's reoccurring, so that's an expense that's going to come off your carryover every year. We are going to implement a new time clock system, hopefully this year, fall, by the end of next year. So that's going to cost us about $50,000. Our utility bills, obviously, that was an issue last year because we didn't know where we were going to be with them. So now we're going to account for that increase right up front now. We're going to try to stay on top of that. The drug testing that we board approved, so that's going to cost us $27,000. And then we had in our last board meeting, we had to up the purchase order to Great Plains Technology Center by $60,000 for our SCORE program. There were more students that were participating in that program. So we get the state aid for them, and then we pass a portion of it back to them. So we had more students participating in that, so it upped that purchase order. So we're going to go ahead and anticipate that now, because I'm sure that it's a great program, and that's good. So we're going to already take that into effect.
Now, is there a reason why, I know we're getting accounting for it, and we gave it to them. Is there a way that they get the credit for it? Why does it have to come through us?
Because they're on our enrollment.
Okay, I got you. They're still a student. I got you. Okay.
Now, and then we have $200,000 expense on our E-rate Category 2 equipment. This is a tremendous opportunity for the district. Actually, it's a 20-80 split. Really what we purchased, we had it board approved recently. We bought over $1 million worth of E-rate equipment, and all the district has to pay is $200,000 to get $1 million worth of equipment. So that's really a pretty good deal. So that was already board approved. And then the one positive to the whole thing is our workers' comp premium went down by $800,000. That's phenomenal. So all in all, our goal, by the time we set the budget, is that our revenue shortfall account will have about $9.5 million. Originally, we were looking toward the $10 million mark because we don't know really, when they set that state aid, with the $200,000 cut, well, really $1 million, but it appears to be $200,000. Most of the people across the state are really gearing that by the time we get to January, that we're going to take another cut. They just didn't want it to appear as badly in July, and we'll probably take that another cut. If we keep up on the trends of the revenue at the state level, they're not improving. So personally, I wish they would have done it now and made it easier on the school districts than having to start the school year, go halfway through, and then try to figure out.
You know, so we have an election coming up, and there's no one that wants that on their head. I got you.
We know, we all know behind scenes, right?
Yes.
Okay. The bottom of it is just a little bit of background for you. Some of the years when we started the budget year and where we ended in that revenue shortfall account, some of them were better. I wanted to point out in last year's, we really didn't gain all that much because of the cuts we took during the school year. So I think we're in really good shape to have $9.5 million, anticipating other cuts coming down the road, and they will come. So I'm glad that we have it to be prepared, and yet it's still going to give us the opportunity to do some of the things that really do need to be enhanced in the school district. Now on page 14, any questions on the general fund? Okay, page 14 talks a little bit about the levy. When we closed this year, it had $1.7 million. We rolled over $520,000 worth of purchase orders, so it ended with $1.2 million. So I think the building levy is in good shape. They've done a really good job keeping up with it. So the levy has grown a little bit, so that's good. And the reason why is because we have our bond money. So it's helping us build a reserve here so that when those bond monies are gone, we'll be able to sustain keeping up with the preventive maintenance and that sort of thing on the buildings. Okay? All righty, let's go on. Page 15. This is an accounting of every one of the district-wide budgets that we give, okay? The one that I wanted to point out to you is right there in the middle there, where Project 108, which is the maintenance department. You know, you talked a little bit about if you had to double our maintenance, you can see what it would cost the district to double that. It's $5 million. A few years ago, we restructured it so that you could actually see what it cost each department. So I thought that was pretty amazing that now we can see. Before we had them grouped together and it was harder to determine what it costs our maintenance department, our educational services where all the teachers, you can see exactly what it's costing us for the teachers, the transportation department and various. So if you all ever need to see that or need any other explanations on that, I'll be happy to go over any of those. But these are the ones that are the districts. And it tells you what we budgeted, what we expended, and the carryover in each of those. Okay? Page 16 tells you all of the different grants that we have in the district. We separated them so that you would understand that these funds, yes, they are in the district, but ultimately they belong to Title I, Title II, the homeless grant, those sort of things. They aren't at the discretion of the district to give a salary raise or anything like that. They belong to those programs. And as you can see, we have $19 million, almost $20 million worth of grants in the district. Quite a bit. Okay. And then, obviously, 17 through 26 are all the other ones. What I'm going to do is I'll skip all on those, and I'm going to actually go to page 28 and give you a recap of the bond funds.
As you're turning there, I guess, number 469, which is the Oklahoma Education Lottery Fund, we only get about $26,000 from them.
Well, that's true.
Well, I just wanted everybody to understand when they say, well, how come the lottery isn't paying for our schools? Well, I think it's nice to note these, since we have it, that we're only expecting about $25,000, so.
That's true. And they actually had to apply for them. There were two people, there were grants that two people had to specifically apply for those two. And that's really not that much, is it? Okay, page 28, our bond fund. You see this every month, we give an update on that, but we thought we would take the time to kind of give you a brief overview of it all. From the beginning, when we started the bond fund, the 2014 bond fund, totally so far we've brought in $10 million. We have actually expended $4.7 million, and you can see the different categories in which we've spent them. We've tried to keep up with that for you. We bought computers, the HVAC at some of the schools, the roof at MacArthur Middle School, the band and the strings instruments, all the money that we've given for the maintenance department, the schools, we gave out allocations to the schools for instructional supplies, and then obviously the transportation, the buses for the transportation, as well as other types of vehicles were bought with that money, not just buses. And that has been a tremendous asset to the district. The vans and those sorts of things that we've bought, they really helped the district a lot. Down below, you'll see $466,000 worth of things, again, that we have already board approved and we have encumbered, we just simply haven't paid them out yet. And then the next group, the planned expenditures, you can see what is upcoming in the next year. We have some money set aside for construction projects, some more money going to the schools, some going to the maintenance department, some money going for textbooks, and then again some more money for transportation. So all in all, what we have brought in so far, $10 million, we have just about made plans for all of it, but $2,254. So now the next time we plan to sell the next set of bonds will be in May of 2017, and it'll be roughly $4.5 million. So that's when we'll get our next set of money on the bond. Okay. Next, page 30. A little bit overview on the city sales tax. To date, we've brought in $3,333,333,328. So we have paid out $1.7 million. We have really working diligently to get the windows. That at Eisenhower, that project is already ongoing. We paid for the architect for the Lawton High windows. We put in some security systems. We put in some ground repair and renovations. We've got some architect stuff out on the playgrounds, and we bought some other district vehicles. What we've encumbered that has already been board approved, the Lawton High windows, the Douglas windows, some other security things, those sorts of things. Now I can tell you that they are in the works, the playgrounds and the fencing, they are pretty close to getting ready to come to before the board. So that will be ramping up pretty quickly. That's why we just don't have them all planned right there, because I haven't seen the bids and that sort of thing. So at this point, of the city sales tax, we have received 27% of it. You'll recall it's a 5-year, we're going to get it in 5 years, $12.5 million. So we're due to collect still the $9 million, and we will collect it up through December of 2020. So we still have $9 more million to come in. But right now, we still have $1,059,000 for the playgrounds and the fencing. Now, the city sales tax money does come in every month. So it's coming in every month. So we are in better shape than when we first started, because you didn't have a lot to work with at $200-some thousand a month. Now we're in good shape. I think we're going to be rolling it out pretty quickly now at this point.
Have the sales tax numbers fluctuated much?
No, if you'll recall, this one was voted on differently. We're getting a flat amount
Oh, that's
every month.
correct, yeah.
Yeah. So we're.
It's nice to know, though, I mean, in case we missed out on stuff, I guess. Is it better than what the deal was made?
I don't want to know.
No, I understand.
No. But $12.5 million
Yes,
is
guaranteed.
really
That's good.
pretty awesome for the community to
Yes.
continue to support us. Any other questions? And we will be back in September.
Okay.
Set the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to mention Ms. Branstetter and several people in the finance office will be getting an award on August 28th, right here at Lawton High, with Superintendent Hoffmeister for, what's the name of the award? The Excellence in Financial Accounting. It's the district award. Very few, it's a big honor. It's a big deal.
Yes. Congratulations.
Yes.
Okay, under the report of superintendent, now my announcements, I have several. I want to remind, that it was on the agenda last time to possibly change the high school start time, but as you notice, it's not on the agenda this time. There's no need to change the high school start times, so please let parents know it starts at the same time it did last year, no changes at all. Also, another reminder, and I help people spread the word, school does start 1 week earlier this year than last year. I know some people think it's a month, but it's only a week. It's a week earlier, and we did that for instructional reasons in order to give more time for work before the test. Found out a week before last, they've actually moved the testing window back a week now. So if we hadn't moved back, we would have lost another week of instruction. So the testing window is going to start a week earlier than it did last year. So I'm very thankful we did that, because now our instruction time stays the same at least. But we had done it hopefully to get ahead. But a lot of districts now are going to be even further behind in instruction. I want to recognize, in the back here, we have Chief Hornbeck. I'm going to give a quick synopsis. I'm sure I get the facts wrong, but some of them wrong. Recently, Mr. Hornbeck was visiting one of our elementary schools. Somebody drove by recklessly, may have run a stoplight or something. Oh, we got him on camera. They may have run a stop sign. Mr. Hornbeck, he is a Lawton Public Schools police officer, but our police department is a fully functional, independent, autonomous police department. Mr. Hornbeck took it upon himself to pursue that car, pulled the car over, found out a warrant for felony arrest and a concealed illegal weapon. And so, Mr. Hornbeck, I want everybody to understand Mr. Hornbeck and his staff. They are police officers in our school, but they're also police officers in our community. So I want to congratulate him and
Thank you.
commend him. I did ask him if he catches me speeding in the school zone, what's he going to do? So
Find your double.
he is going to give me a ticket, is what he's going to do.
There we go.
He'll probably handcuff me. No doubts. We're also, we had a review on our maintenance custodial. Freedom's been in the news lately. We're working currently with 3 companies to select and propose to a board a company that would come in and do a third-party assessment of Freedom Elementary School after everything's completed here at the end. I think that would be a good thing, just to, help give the board some, and, Ms. Clodfelter and I talked about this, and Ms. Clodfelter suggested, I think it's a great idea, just have somebody come in. It will cost the district a little bit, but I think in the end, the peace of mind and knowing that everything's wrapped up will be something to put this behind. Because again, I do believe this is going to be a great project for the community. We don't want any doubt out there lingering about freedom. Because 10 years from now, people will still be talking about it. I want to thank JT Neal for providing, JT Neal Insurance Company has funded these. This is our administrative emergency procedures guide, and they're currently working through Lynn Cordes. She helped actually put this together with Mr. Neal. We're going to have new emergency procedures guides for every school. This will have everything in new, from a bomb threat to if somebody calls with a complaint, if we have anything that could possibly happen. It's an emergency. It's a quick flip. It's very easy to follow. And so I want to thank JT Neal and Ms. Cordes for putting that together for us.
Awesome. Good deal.
Eisenhower windows, I'm going to pass this down. This is a before and after some of the back windows, like you look at those. This is the back, which I've been excited to see come along. The back windows, the sun comes straight in them because they're facing the south, et cetera. Now they've got a little, they're smoked a little bit, you can't, it's going to cut down the glare. If you're, it's just incredible. The building looks just so much better. And finally, tonight in the agenda, if the board approves them, we have 7 elementary playground bids tonight up for approval. And I hope to, now that we know where we are in our budget, I hope to go ahead and open bids on the other remaining 14 so we can get all of the elementary playgrounds started this year. So that's my update. Any other questions or concerns?
Any other questions? Does anybody need anything removed from the consent agenda? What? Oh, the addendum.
There is an addendum to the consent agenda? Oh, that's an addendum to my report, isn't it? Thank you. I'll get that out. We have addendum, the addendum, let me borrow yours, sir. It's item 7 of the superintendent's report, consideration and action regarding the proposed rate changes for the 2016-17 extended time programs for the before and after school program. It's a very modest adjustment of the charges. It won't affect parents. In one case, it came up to be an additional $7 a year, those sorts of things, very small adjustments, but it is the cost of doing business.
So rise costs for an extended day program. Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Duffy, for saving me.
All right. Now, does anybody need anything removed from the consent agenda? Oh,
Everything
entertain a motion.
that we have talked about, Dr. Deegan, is on this, on the first one, 8B, where we talked about the adoption status, what you just brought up in your announcements. How will that affect 12 and 13?
12 and 13. 12 and 13.
In the facilities planning and construction, on page 72.
Oh, 12 and 13 from here?
No, on page 72.
72.
I don't know if that needs to be talked about, or that's what we talked about.
Oh, this is from the last one. This is just a record of the report in the minutes.
Okay.
It doesn't change, I mean, this is just a this can change at any time we want to. It's
we're not
nothing's
voting
etched in stone.
Okay, that's what I wanted to.
Okay, good question. That was a question about the minutes and the document in the minutes from the last board meeting.
Any other consideration for the consent agenda? I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes. I guess there's no proposed executive session this evening?
Nope.
On to your personnel report, item 13.
Under item 13, the superintendent's personnel report, I have item A, to vote to approve the deploying, the promoting, disciplining, or receiving resignation of individuals certified and support salary personnel listed on page 253.
Move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes. Consideration of any new business?
I have none.
Next regular board meeting date scheduled for Monday, August 1st here at Shoemaker. Consideration action concerning any other board meeting dates?
Nope, I have none.
Any board announcements? Mr. Jester, 18, consideration motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn at 5:59:45.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Give us quick instructions, but I have to leave at 6 o'clock.
I know, we got